Double, 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 double.
China has identified the cause of the
mysterious new virus.
Coronavirus.
Countries around the world have now reported more than 1 million coronavirus cases.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
Prayers in churches, in mosques, open-air prayers, closing all the primary and secondary schools, as well as all the universities and tertiary institutions. This should be suspended for a month with immediate effect.
In the midst of the sweeping COVID-19 pandemic, when the world held its breath, even the vibrant youth camp at Muduma found itself in a standstill. As lockdowns became the norm, the camp's exuberant atmosphere was put on pause.
The word has changed. Camp was not physical. This was like the last physical day of camp.
Thankfully, the long wait was over at the end of 2022. A committee is already set before camp to plan, prepare, and pray for the young people and the different activities to be held at camp. It was a great joy to physically meet again for camp at Muduma and usher in 2023 in style. We had over 400 young people registering and attending Camp Exiles. The theme of Camp Exiles.
I didn't come up with the theme on my own. It was a team of people, the youth pastor, the youth chairperson, and myself. The theme for the year of 2022 of the church was Hope Beyond Affliction. So we looked for a theme that was in season, but that was still rhyming with the theme of the church. So we looked at affliction, and we realized one of the kinds of suffering or affliction that we had not looked at through the year was one of persecution, suffering because of your faith or for what you believe in. And so that's the direction we thought would be good, especially in the world we're in which it's becoming increasingly difficult to stand for the truth of the gospel. And so we thought naturally 1 Peter, that's the message of 1 Peter. We have Peter writing to Christians of the time, and they too were suffering for what they believed. He uses the word exiles to describe them in terms of like foreigners, strangers in this world, and so that's where the name Exiles came from, and the theme of hope beyond affliction, but the particular affliction of persecution.
A committee is already set before camp to plan, prepare, and pray for the young people and the different activities to be held at camp.
The first step that we went through was getting people to know that the camp is happening.
From parents,
to the youth who were supposed to attend the camp.
And that happened all the way as early as the end of Ablaze. And then from then on, we continued publicizing the camp, getting people to know that the camp is going to happen, getting them to register. Then we called them to pay.
So some of the things we did were like the flyers that went around were worked on by the team I led. Some of the video clips that went around, publicity for the pre-camp activities, like the fundraisers, the game day that we had.
My best experience was helping an askari. So this askari had a toothache, terrible toothache. And I had just gotten advice from a senior doctor, I'll call him a senior doctor. And I'm like, so what do we do? Which kind of antibacterials do we give? And it's like, if it's a toothache, you suspect there's going to be infection, pus will be formed. So you would want to give something like Metrogel. So I was ready for that situation, and we helped him. So after helping him, it's like, thank you so much, thank you so much. I remember the day I was leaving for camp, he was like, you're leaving, but who's going to take care of my tooth? I'm like, don't worry, God got you. And I think that's what I kept telling most campers in my head. If I didn't say it out loud, because I was still probably figuring out what to do for this person, what to do for this person, and I was like, God will work it out for you. So for me, it was holistic medicine, praying for some of them, praying with them, and then giving them medicine. So I'm really grateful for camp and for that role, really. Yeah. Usually a camp doctor has medical students only, but this time we had a nursing student. We also had a lab technician. So I think there was like diversity, and really that's what the medical world should be like. So the campers were actually in good hands, in a safe space. We had to buy drugs. That was tough. It was tough. We thought, oh, we're just going to go walk to the pharmacy, pick up drugs like everyone does in our home. But someone suggested that we should order through JMS. Now, JMS is a beautiful company with the way they process things, so they made it easy for us. But the money came really late, and that stressed me mentally. I remember I was on the way to the village, heading home for Christmas. And I was trying to sort out these guys, trying to sort out JMS, trying to sort out whoever was in charge of the money. But thanks be to God, we got all the drugs we needed, actually more than enough. I remember talking to someone just before camp officially started. I'm like, I don't think we have all the drugs, because we needed things like anti-malaria drugs, which for some reason, JMS didn't deliver them. But no one got malaria, right? So it was like, thank God. But we were ready for every situation. So we had to prepare for things that were beyond our reach. So we wrote a letter to the Muduma Health Center 3, which is really nearby. And they helped us. They said they would help us whenever something came up. So we had their number and were ready for such an emergency.
I believe God was with us, and I really saw God, especially on that, was it on 30th or 29th? Yes, there's a way people were a bit cold. I think because we had new campers for the first time, they didn't know what to do. But the way people, what is the right word? Opened up, and they were willing to, I think it was the hand of God that touched people's hearts to open up. Even I remember there's a session where the Reverend Gerard was preaching, and he called people to pray, to be prayed for. And the kids were many. People were willing to share what was on their hearts, and they wanted to be prayed with other people, and just to share their burdens. Yeah, I think for me that really showed that God was with us. Even in the overnights, our last overnight, we were a bit many. We were over 40 in that overnight, and people were willing. There was grace to pray more. Yeah.
During camp preparation, some people got to know that I was becoming the camp command, assistant camp commander. Yeah. So the people that approached me kept telling me, it's going to be so hard for you. You have to learn how to be mean. Okay, not mean, but hard. But have to be tough. Yes, I have to be tough on people. I have to make sure things are running according to line. In the sense, things are going in place according to how they were planned for. But then, okay, now that became a prayer request for me, so I don't find it hard and I get to enjoy as I lead, which turned out well for me.
The experience has been a new one, and I can say new because it's been a while due to COVID and the lockdown. I think my last physical camp was in 2019. So the experience has been a bit new because I had forgotten what it felt like to be here.
How I saw God work, I saw that in terms now like the food, money was really done. And I was like, God, how is this going to work out? How is this going to work out? How are we going to be able to provide food? And this is just like the third day. How are we going to be able to give money to INET to be able to make people eat food? So as I was praying, and then I saw Evelyn coming, I'm like, oh, she's here. God is good. So that was the most scary part, but also the very nice part that Evelyn came through, and also church came through and saw our need for the money, like why we asked for it before.
God is faithful. The camp wasn't really primarily about us. It was his thing, and the publicity that happened, it worked, right? In one of the meetings, we realized that we had more people registered by beginning of December compared to the numbers we usually had in the past years, right? And I strongly believe it's because people had heard about camp, right? In so many ways before that period that we were able to have those numbers registered by then.
We had challenges at the camp, but I wouldn't say any of them were big enough for me even to remember.
We faced a challenge with power. It was on and off. I don't know if Nixon was touching it, I don't know. But also another challenge is people kept on coming to us to charge, even though we wrote a note telling them you're not allowed to charge, but they kept on coming.
So I had a beautiful experience with camp. Of course, it was tiresome because I would be in the spirit, I would be praying, someone taps on my shoulder. Someone has just cut their hand in the kitchen. I'm like, oh my God. So we're running there. And of course, I'm still digesting what I've learned. But I know that was my time to serve.
Just getting the team together. Finding people who are willing, one, but also at least able to take up the role. It's a bit demanding, of course. You have to give of yourself, give of your time, be there for these campers and listen to them. So finding someone who's able to make that sacrifice willingly, because you don't want to force people there, that was a bit difficult. Approaching people and they tell you, no, I can't because of A, B, C, D, and E.
I think my biggest challenge was not leaving the money, just the bag just lying there, because I do not trust anyone. So just leaving it around or leaving it with someone I do not trust was the challenge during camp.
We had so many challenges as a publicity team. First of all, it was my first time leading the publicity team for a physical camp. COVID happened, so there were like 2 hybrid camps that happened in those 2 years. And so this one was the first one that we were going back to Muduma, and it was a little more demanding because we knew we'd be dealing with a lot more people. And so there was the pressure to reach as many people as possible.
But we got through all of them by God's grace.
When we had the last camp, that was 2019, 2020, just before, the bomb that was COVID happened, I was really tired because I've been serving in youth ministry for a while. So I was kind of tired. I was kind of finished. And I remember ending the camp with thinking of, this was fun, I've signed out and stuff. And when I actually came back for camp, going through all these years, I was actually just giving thanks to God. I remembered Samson and how he kind of taken for granted the gift and the blessing and call that God had given to him, and he had kind of gone sideways. And then at that last moment, eyes plucked out, hair cut, he asked God for one more chance to do the work that he needs to do. And I think for me, even while I was at camp, it felt like God had given me another chance. I had kind of gotten used to how things move. You have camp, you have a blaze, you have fellowship. Like, you know, the general run of the mill serving. But then I felt like, especially with this camp, God revived that love for ministry again. And it was just a point for me to just give thanks that I might have been going through whatever I was going through and forgetting the blessing that God had given. But he was showing me that this is still a privilege, this is still an honor, this is still something worth dying for. And yeah, so that was for me, it was just a reviving of that love of service once again.
It gives me a conducive environment to like be with my God. Devotion was my best experience because my tent mates were like the best, and as well as my tent leader, and it really, like, she would throw more light to some things that you didn't really understand, so it helped me grow as a Christian.
My experience was as the youngest, so it was very hard for me to fit in, but since I had friends, it was also kind of simple for me to fit in. What I loved about camp is the interaction with new people, get to know other people, and also how there's campfire, sing and fun, where I performed. What I learned is that, the theme was basically about how we are exiles and how we suffer. So what I learned is that sometimes God allows us to suffer so that we strengthen, to see how firm our faith is in Him. And yeah, that's basically what I learned. So.
My favorite experience at camp was the praise and worship. I was privileged to be able to serve and play on the praise and worship team, and yeah, I also really loved the workshops and the preachings. They really made me think a lot about Christianity and made me understand that in life I'm an exile. And one of the few things that I was able to take away from camp and all was the importance of fellowship. And so once I got back home, I decided to make it a habit to at least try to go for fellowship. Yeah.
As a parent, of course, there's that fear, what is happening at camp? Will my children get bad behavior? Will they be in bad company? But I want to thank God that All Saints Camp is a different camp. These children go out there and they have mentors, they have facilitators who are able to speak into their lives. They are able to learn new things, make new friends. One thing I liked about the camp was discipline was very high. Children, if it's the boys on their side, the girls on their side, they were able to mix during the day when they're having the devotions and everything else. And I want to thank the church for this time that they set aside for the children to go and just have time away from the parents, but also have time with God. Muduma is a quiet place. They're able to sit and meditate and have quiet time with the Lord. My personal experience, we went there with my husband, and we were able to have some good time, devotion. We were able to set plans for the year, something that I don't think we would have done if we were at home. And we were able to interact with the children. So parents out there, my call for us, starting from this year, come, join the children and experience Muduma. God bless you.
It was a great time for many young people to set apart time to commune with God with limited distractions. Muduma, an urban center in Mpigi district, is located 41 kilometers away from Kampala. It is a beautiful environment to retreat and enjoy nature and friendly conversation. Our prayer is to see more and more young people attend the youth camp at Muduma. We call upon all parents and guardians to consider sending their children for camp in order to cultivate the love of God among their children.
Bloopers.
Sorry. Mine. Okay, wait.
I hope you're not recording.